At this point, if anyone tells you that they know with 100% certainty what is happening with the Z Fold 6, whether or not there will be an Ultra version or a budget-friendly, or I guess I should say more budget-friendly FE version, you should immediately treat that person with distrust, because this has been one of the stranger sort of weaving news stories that I've seen in quite a while. I'm going to do my best to kind of give you guys the full context here to kind of wrap this thing up as best I can in this moment. So there had been some rumors for a while that perhaps there would be a budget version of the Z Fold line, potentially the Z Fold 6. So we're going to jump around to several different news articles over the last few months to kind of impress upon you how complicated and confusing this has been. So we're looking at 9 to 5 Google here first. This is back in January. Samsung reportedly planning entry-level version of the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Now, they are getting their news from a report from the Elec. The Elec is a South Korean publication. Samsung is a South Korean corporation. So the idea would be that they have some sort of information there. Samsung will debut an entry-level Z Fold 6 later this year to, quote, increase the penetration rate of the foldable phone market, especially as more foldables come out in China. They're seeing more and more strong competition from the likes of Huawei, seeing their market share come down. The time to act is now. The time to create an entry-level device is now. So that was from the Elec, reported by 9 to 5 Google. Both of these tend to be pretty reputable when it comes to this sort of thing. We then jump ahead to January the 31st. This is WinFuture.de, codename Q6A. Samsung is working on an alternative to the Galaxy Z Fold 6. If we scroll down here once again, WinFuture says they found some internal code names being referenced. Code names Q6 and B6, which they say stand for the Z Fold 6 and the Z Flip 6, respectively. They say the prior models were Q5 and B5, but they also found Q6A in the database going back to at least November of 2023. Now, they say the code name Q6A would illustrate a proximity to the Z Fold 6. So it's a similar name, probably a variation of the Z Fold 6. The developers wouldn't use such a similar name internally otherwise. And they say that the references to the Q6A began right around the same time as the references to Q6. So again, more evidence that the Q6A is a variation of the Z Fold. At the end of this, they say there's plenty of room for speculation. It would be conceivable that Samsung could be planning an upper mid-range Galaxy A Fold, a fan edition, a mid-range, cheaper version of the Z Fold. Jumping to a later article, though, from WinFuture, they are now talking about Q6A as an Ultra Fold, apparently hearing speculation and rumors about this in Barcelona. I believe it was Mobile World Congress or something like that. So they went from saying, hey, maybe this is a budget version to maybe this is an Ultra version of the phone. So we're already kind of getting some confusion. We know that there's another Z Fold coming. There's a code name there. But now WinFuture is going back and forth, well, I guess just once from here to here, from Fan Edition to Ultra Phone. And don't worry, we're not done complicating this yet, because around the same time, another South Korean publication, ET News, says Samsung is adding a low-end fold without the S Pen to try and popularize the line of devices further. They go on to say Samsung has planned a product excluding the pen input function as a way to launch an entry-level fold with a lower price, and that they are also going to focus on lowering the price by making differences in other parts and performance in addition to the digitizer. So perhaps maybe using last year's processor or something of that sort. Lots of smoke, potentially coming from two different places, though. This is getting very confusing. Then back on ET News again, March the 14th, they double down on their position that Samsung is making a budget version of the Z Fold. Let me just find it here really quickly. I already scrolled to it. Samsung plans to overcome this situation with its new foldable phone Galaxy Z6 series. Now, they're talking about the fact that other foldable companies, OEMs I should say, are encroaching upon Samsung, and that their lead in market share, according to Display Supply Chain Consultants, is now in jeopardy for quarter one of 2024. In particular, this article reads, the Z Fold 6 is being prepared as the first low-end product in history. Currently, Samsung is developing a total of 2 Z Fold 6 models, including a new Z Fold model with pin input function and a model without pin input function. This is a strategy to expand the demand by reducing the price burden on foldable smartphones. So they're not listening to what WinFuture is saying. They're doubling down. It's a budget version, which if you look at the situation, which we can look at here on display supply chain consultants, Q1 of 2024, what they're expecting to see here, Samsung dropping as many other OEMs are rising, most notably Huawei with a massive jump. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to say, we want to recapture our market share. I know, let's make an even more expensive version of the Z Fold. No, it makes sense to make a cheaper version of the Z Fold. And that's what a lot of places think is happening. Let's jump over here to Twitter. I think we have another interesting thing to point out. Revegnus referencing this report from ET News saying there is indeed an FE model being created. But another source here, Ross Young, who actually is the CEO of Display Supply Chain Consultants, sort of adding more credence to this report. Could be a lot thinner too, as the digitizer is thick. Now, you may read that and say, well, that's just speculation, but then they respond to another person. Any information about the Fold 6 FE screen, Ross says, same as the Fold 6 screen, without a digitizer for pin input, 7.61-inch main display and 6.25-inch cover display. Let's go back to the article from SmartPre because they had their own screen measurements here. Let's see if they line up. And if we look at the cover display, he says 6.2 inches. OnLeaks tends to just kind of round on these numbers, and so that does line up. And for the inner display, 7.6 inches. Once again, he tends to round, and these numbers do indeed line up. So at this point, while again, anyone that tells you they know for sure what's going on, you might want to be skeptical of them just simply because this has been such a sort of crazy back and forth thing with people showing lots of confidence in two opposing directions. I do think if you made me say, Shane, you have to predict what's going to happen, I would tell you that it is more likely that we are going to see an FE or an A series, a budget version of the Z Fold 6. And the primary reason is because it makes more sense when you see their market share dropping. They need a cheaper version. And of course, like I mentioned in a prior video, the price is the main reason why people skip these devices. If you have the primary Z Fold 6, which looks like this, it's got the S Pen and all that good stuff, and it's $17.99. And then there's a cheaper version, maybe with a larger battery, maybe with an older processor that's still more than fast enough, no S Pen, and it's closer to $1,000. Man, oh man, that could really make a big impact in their market share. And of course, we are now seeing the alignment of several different tech leakers and reporters who tend to be accurate. Ross knows what these companies are ordering in terms of these displays. He knows these things, okay? He's an insider. We're seeing this alignment of different tech leakers and reporters pointing towards that budget FE model. So again, we're not 100% sure, but it does seem as though that is the direction that we are headed. Now, believe it or not, I'm going to drop a link to everything I just showed you in the description down below, so that if you want to dig deeper into this, you will be able to do so. I do want to hear from you in the comments, though. What do you think? Does it make sense? Do you think that I am now on the right path with regard to a Z Fold 6 FE? And is an FE that is lacking an S Pen, maybe using last year's processor or something like that? Is that something you will be interested in buying? Sound off in those comments, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.